Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into a really interesting topic, especially if you're maybe figuring things out right now. How to be successful when you are young. Our whole mission here is to cut through all the noise, pull out the really important insights from our research, and give you practical, actionable things you can actually use. So whether you're a student thinking about what's next, maybe a young professional starting a career, or honestly just someone with big dreams, this deep dive is definitely for you. Because success doesn't really have an age limit, right? And our goal is just to unpack some solid advice to, well, kickstart your journey. Let's get into it. So first off, why focus so much on success when you're young? What's special about that time?
Well, it's interesting. Our sources often frame youth almost like a superpower.
A superpower.
Well, yeah, think about it. You generally have a lot of energy, right? Curiosity, too.
Mm.
And crucially, time. Those three things, they're incredibly powerful assets. If you channel them right, they can genuinely set the stage for, a whole lifetime of achievements.
Hmm. Energy, curiosity, time. I can see that.
And there's this compounding benefit of starting early. You can afford to take a few more calculated risks, maybe.
Right. The stakes feel a bit lower sometimes.
Exactly. You learn from failures, you build habits, and those habits just grow stronger over the years. It's really like planting a seed today, a small one, that grows into this massive tree by the time you're older. That early start really pays off down the line.
That seed to tree idea is great and makes it tangible. But, okay, for someone starting now, what's a small seed? And maybe even before that. What does success even mean?
Yes.
Because it's so personal, isn't it?
It absolutely is.
Huh.
Success is deeply personal. Our sources show this clearly. For one person, maybe it is landing that dream job.
Okay.
For someone else, it's the excitement of starting their own business, that entrepreneurial path. Or it could be creating art or making a real difference in the world, maybe through social work or something similar. So the really crucial first step for you, the listener, isn't just how to get success. It's taking the time to define what it genuinely looks like for you. Without that personal clarity, it's really hard to know where you're going.
I totally agree. That clarity is fundamental. Okay, so assuming someone has some idea of what success looks like for them, the sources then get into the how. And we've kind of distilled 5 practical, no-nonsense strategies you can actually start using today.
Yeah, let's break them down.
First up, goals. The sources really hit hard on this. Trying to achieve something big without clear goals. It's like trying to drive to a new city with no map, right?
Exactly. You might end up somewhere.
Maybe somewhere with great donuts if you're lucky, but probably not your intended destination.
Precisely. And that's why the SMART goals concept is so powerful. You've probably heard of it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
The research really backs this up. People who frame their goals this way are just, much more likely to hit them. So instead of just saying, I want to be rich, which is pretty vague.
Very vague.
A SMART goal would be something like, okay, I'll save $10,000 by the end of this year by doing some freelance work. See, it's specific, you can measure it, it seems achievable, it's relevant to maybe a bigger financial goal, and it has a deadline.
That makes it so much more concrete. So how does someone listening take that idea and start today?
Well, the steps are actually pretty simple but effective. First, write your goals down. Physically write them.
Okay.
Then break those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps, little chunks. And then you got to track your progress.
Tracking is key, I imagine.
Absolutely. You could use something like Notion, or honestly, just a simple notebook or journal works great. The main point is start small, but you have to start now.
Start small, start now. Got it.
Okay.
What's the second strategy?
This one's huge. It's about cultivating a growth mindset. Your mindset. It really does shape everything.
Growth mindset. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. It's basically the belief that your abilities aren't fixed. You can improve, you can develop through effort, through learning, through persistence. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset where you think, oh, I'm just not good at math, whatever.
Right. I wasn't born with that talent.
Exactly. And our deep dive shows that people who actively adopt this growth mindset, who see challenges as chances to learn, they tend to achieve more in the long run. So, for example, let's say you fail a test or mess up a project at work.
Yep, happens to everyone.
Instead of thinking, I'm just not cut out for this, the growth mindset prompts you to ask, okay, what can I learn here? What went wrong? And how can I do better next time? It's a really fundamental shift.
Are there ways to actively build that mindset?
Definitely. There are great resources. Books like Mindset by Carol Dweck are fantastic starting points. Lots of TED Talks cover this too. But also, it's about who you surround yourself with. Finding
Mm-hmm.
people, friends, mentors, even online groups who push you, who encourage you to grow.
That makes sense. Your environment matters.
It really does. And we see examples in the source material. People like Ratan Tata or Deepinder Goyal.
Yeah.
They started young, sure, but they kept learning, kept adapting. That's growth mindset in action.
Okay, growth mindset. That's number 2. What's number 3?
Number 3 is mastering time management. This is so critical. Time is probably your most valuable asset, especially when you're young. You can't get it back.
So true. It feels like there's never enough time.
Right. But successful people don't magically have more hours. They're just,
Yeah.
well, they're much better at using the hours they do have.
So how do they do that? Any specific techniques?
Yeah, the sources highlight a few. The Pomodoro technique is one. You work really focused for, say, 25 minutes, then take a short 5-minute break, repeat.
I've heard of that. Does it actually work?
Apparently, yes.
Hmm.
Research suggests those short breaks actually help your brain consolidate information and prevent burnout. Keeps you fresh.
Interesting. Okay.
Another tool is the Eisenhower matrix. It helps you prioritize tasks based on urgency and importance. So you focus on what's truly important, not just what feels urgent right now.
Important versus urgent. That's a key distinction.
Absolutely. And a big part of managing time well is honestly cutting down distractions.
The distractions. Endless scrolling.
Exactly. Instagram, binge watching shows, we all know the culprits. It's about setting some real boundaries, maybe creating a daily schedule that you actually try to stick to.
So being intentional with your time, using tools maybe?
Yeah, simple apps like Todoist or even just Google Calendar can be lifesavers for keeping you organized and focused on what matters.
Okay, time management. Crucial. What's number 4?
Fourth is investing in learning new skills. Seriously, the world's changing so fast. Your skills, that's your currency now.
Skills are your currency. I like that. What kind of skills are we talking about?
Well, the sources mention quite a few that are really valuable right now. Things like coding, digital marketing, public speaking is always good.
AI literacy seems huge now too.
Definitely. AI, data analysis, content creation, these are in high demand.
So how do you learn these things? Does it cost a fortune?
Not necessarily. That's the great thing. There are platforms like Coursera, Udemy. You can often find amazing courses there.
Yeah.
But even free resources like quality YouTube tutorials, they're gold mines.
Right. So much is available online.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And here's a practical tip from the research. Just pick one skill you're curious about. Dedicate maybe 30 minutes a day to it. Seriously, just 30 minutes.
Okay.
Do that consistently, and within a few months, you'll likely be way ahead of the curve. Plus, learning new skills builds confidence, right? And that confidence tends to attract opportunities.
That makes total sense. Skills build confidence. Confidence attracts opportunities. Okay, that's 4. What's the 5th and final tip?
The 5th one ties it all together. Network and take action.
Okay. The who you know part.
Partly, yes, but it's more nuanced. Networking is important, attending relevant events, maybe using LinkedIn strategically, connecting with people in your field.
Reaching out to people you admire.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to reach out politely for advice. You might be surprised who responds. But the sources also emphasize going beyond just collecting contacts. Look for smaller, focused communities where you can have real interactions.
Quality over quantity.
Precisely. And maybe surprisingly, a simple, thoughtful follow-up or thank you note can be incredibly effective.
Okay. Networking. And the second part was take action.
Yes, and this is arguably the most critical piece. Ideas are great, but they're pretty much worthless without execution.
Ooh, strong words. Probably true.
Think about it. If you want to start a YouTube channel, don't just plan it forever. Record that first video, even if it's not perfect.
Get started.
Get started. If you dream of a startup, don't just write a 50-page business plan. Build a tiny version, a prototype, and see if the core idea actually works. Test it.
So it's about doing, not just dreaming.
Exactly. Small actions you take today are what build into those big wins tomorrow. So the question for you listening is, what's one small action you can take today?
That's a great challenge. Okay, those are the 5 tips. But let's be real for a second. Chasing success, especially when you're young, it's not always smooth sailing, is it? There are challenges.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources acknowledge this. Self-doubt is a huge one. That little voice saying you're not good enough.
We all have that voice sometimes.
We do. But the key takeaway is everyone starts somewhere. Remember that growth mindset. Even, thinking about someone like Virat Kohli, He wasn't born a cricket god. He worked incredibly hard, faced setbacks, learned, persisted.
Right. It's a process. What about money? That often feels like a big barrier for young people.
It definitely can be, but the advice tends to be very practical.
Yeah.
Start small. You don't always need huge investment. Use free resources. There are tons out there. Bootstrap your ideas if you can.
Meaning fund it yourself or with early revenue?
Exactly. Avoid taking on big debts early if possible. Or maybe find a part-time job or gig to fund your passion project on the side. Resourcefulness is key.
Okay. Any other common hurdles?
Family pressure sometimes comes up.
Mhm.
Maybe pressure to follow a certain safe path.
Yeah, I can see that.
The advice there. Communication. Try to clearly explain your goals, your vision, and maybe even more importantly, show them small wins along the way. That can help build their understanding and support over time.
Small wins build trust.
Okay. Ultimately, though, across all these challenges, the word that comes up again and again is resilience.
Resilience. Bouncing back.
Exactly. Every single successful person highlighted in our research faced setbacks, often major ones. What sets them apart isn't that they avoided failure. It's that they just kept going. They learned, adapted, and didn't give up.
That's powerful. Keep going.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of those 5 big strategies.
Sounds good.
Number 1, set clear, smart goals.
Yep. Write them down, break them down.
2, cultivate that growth mindset. Believe you can improve.
See challenges as learning opportunities.
3, master your time management. Use your hours wisely.
Cut distractions. Prioritize what matters. 4, invest in learning new skills. They're your currency.
Be curious, dedicate time, even just 30 minutes a day.
And 5, network meaningfully, and most importantly, take action.
Ideas need execution. Start doing.
Perfect. That's a solid roadmap.
And maybe the core insight underneath all of this is success really isn't about being perfect. It's much more about being consistent and being courageous, showing up day after day.
Consistent and courageous. I like that. Okay, so here's a little bit of homework for everyone listening to this deep dive. Pick just one tip, just one thing we talked about today, and commit to acting on it this week. Maybe that's finally writing down one SMART goal.
Or maybe spending 30 minutes starting to learn that skill you've been thinking about.
Exactly. Just one small, concrete action this week.
And building on that, here's a final thought to maybe chew on after this.
Mm-hmm.
What consistent, courageous, small action could you take starting today that, through the power of compounding, could lead to a future for you that's way more successful, way more fulfilling than maybe you even dare to imagine right now?
Wow. That's a powerful question to end on. What small action today could compound into something huge tomorrow? Lots to think about there.